Hi there everybody, I'm Jane Tweedy and I'm from FAQ Business Training with another tip from our Coping with Crisis series. Today we're talking about another marketing thing, and it's a bit of an extension from our session before about marketing in a crisis. Just a few more things about the specific types of things that we want to actually market in this time of crisis. Hi everybody, thanks for coming back. So the marketing things that we want to do in a time of crisis may differ a little bit from the marketing we do normally. If we normally spend quite a bit of time selling and things and maybe we're not even open, well then obviously marketing something that we're not even open is probably not the best idea. So what can we do instead? Look at other ways we can market, and honestly 80-90% of the time anyway, in a normal time, you shouldn't actually be just selling. Selling is not what people are interested in. When you look at the algorithm on something like Facebook, they're about informing and educating and entertaining. So think about that when you're putting posts together. If it's just a smarmy sales post, it ain't going to get very far. So think about how you can do your marketing and what type of marketing you do and the platform you'll market on. A good example of a platform that you can be a bit silly on, but also show some humanization of your brand, is through TikTok. And a lot of people are having some real fun with their brains on that. And if you look at some of the feeds, you look at it and go, what's that got to do with them? But it's showing their fun side. And with a small business particularly, it can be a great way to showcase your personality. So don't be afraid of putting that as a bit of a marketing mix in there. And then what people are doing is then downloading some of their TikTok videos and then they're posting them on Insta stories or Facebook stories or something like that. So the great thing with stories, like Facebook stories and Instagram stories, is that they showcase a bit of behind the scenes. They can be casual, they can be more relaxed, they don't have to be polished, and they only start for 24 hours. So we also get a bit of a feel then, well, what stuff kind of is resonating with our audience and what's not. So then we can get a feel on our page that's going to stay there more permanently. Now we can on Instagram set things into our highlights, and they're those little round buttons on someone's profile. So we can use those to then have something more permanent as a permanent record of what we're up to, but they can just be temporary, just a bit of fly by night, have a bit of fun, ha ha ha, move on. So remember, marketing in a time of crisis is not just about selling. It's also really important to consider the messaging. And we talked about that the other day. The fact that you have got to be, mindful of the situation you're in and the way that your audience is feeling. Don't make them feel worse than they already are, but don't also try and lift them up here when they're way down here. Lift them up, but don't try and, take them out of the park too quickly. You might put them in a bit of a state of shock. So we can also use this time of crisis to showcase our expertise. A lot of you are very quiet in your businesses. Nobody knows you're existing. And I had one of my clients yesterday, actually, well, it might be a couple of days or even years ago by the time you see this. But my client, she sent me a note and said, I did my first Facebook Live. And I'm like, awesome, that's great. But what she showcased was, in a time of crisis, is how her business had evolved and changed. Now, the great thing about that is it's letting people know that she's still open for business, but it's also letting people know the kind of activities she's up to. And she's incredibly inventive. So she's done a really great thing. So she's actually an events manager. And initially I got a bit of a message from her, oh my God, the world's fallen over, everything stopped. And that was what it looked like for a lot of event managers. A lot of events managers were in a very bad place. But she kind of reinvented herself. So she's been helping people run online events. But in particular, she's been helping her developer clients with continuing with their community engagement events that she'd been doing in person. But now she's got things like online yoga classes, online cooking classes. She's running 40 Zoom sessions a week. Like, that's cray-cray. She's busier now than what she normally would be through the winter period. It's crazy. So that's just an example of how we can turn things from a negative to a positive. Celia Wouters from Events Outsourced. Definitely a great event manager if you're looking at somebody that thinks a little bit differently, but also she is bang on making sure everything is run smick and to the mark. She will not run a conference or something and let things get out of control and go late and all that. No, not on her watch. She's a great events manager and I would recommend checking out her services should you need them. We can also do things like do a demo. So as I mentioned, they had things like online cooking classes as part of their sessions. So another lady that's doing cool things in this space and who's actually working with Celia is Jennie from the Cooks Workshop. So what Jennie is doing in her space, she's lucky her son is a videographer. And I watched her videos about pizza cobs, making a pizza cob. And it was so professional. She had the aerial kind of shot coming down to look at a close-up of the food being made. She had the face-to-face shot talking to the camera perfectly. Did a fantastic job. And again, that brings more audience to her. So she can then run online courses that are more professional, as she calls them, or, has the experts teaching. But Jennie does a great job teaching too. So it's really good to see some of these businesses evolving in this space. So doing demos and things can be great. You may have a product that you sell that requires a little bit of setup work or something to be done. Shoot a bit of a demo, explain it, and even do an outtake video. People love outtakes. Keep all where the cats walked in and knocked over the tripod type stuff, or the where you've burst into a fit of laughter, or the chainsaw started next door. Put all that stuff together as a bloopers reel. People love bloopers reels. So just things like that. And again, that's another place that we can have fun. That's another thing you can share on your Instagram or your stories or whatever. But a bloopers reel every now and then on your feed is also going to be fun too. So think about ways that you can market to show your expertise, but also show your fun side. And this comes down a bit to having your brand voice sorted. If you want to show a fun side, then make sure that you are actually showcasing stuff that is fun. So think about what you can do in this time of crisis to change and mix up your marketing a bit. And you might find some of these things that you do now will stick around in the long term. So I'm Jane Tweedy. I'm here from FAQ Business Training, and this is part of our Coping with Crisis series.